Hey there, I'm Shantell Martin, and we're here to see one of my favourite artists, James Jean. And as an artist, I love to chat to other artists to find out what makes them tick, why they do what they do, and then just to see what they're working on. So let's go and see James. He's been working on lots of things from DC Comics in the past to Prada, and has a solo show coming up in Tokyo next year. So thanks for having me, James.
Yeah, nice to meet you finally.
Yeah, we've been trying to meet each other for probably 2 years now, and lots of mutual friends putting us in touch.
Right, yeah. Thanks for coming to the studio, and
Cool.
yeah, I guess you're about to fly off to Australia, so
Yeah,
it's
so
pretty crazy.
we're off to Australia tonight, so that's good. But you know, I've been really impressed with the work that you've been creating for many years now because of the intersection with commercial fine art, you know, comics, fashion, everything in there. You know, how did that start?
Well, I'm just trying to survive. So
Yeah,
it's basically trying to avoid starving.
yeah,
So I went to school in New York, School of Visual Arts, and when I graduated, my intent was to just paint for myself, to just do fine art. But in order to survive, I tried to do illustration, and I pounded the pavement, dropped off my portfolio, tried to get book cover work, got rejected everywhere.
yeah.
Um, until DC Comics offered me a cover gig, and it turned into a regular thing. It was a very lucky um, opportunity that I totally didn't expect at all, and it kind of snowballed into like I guess a pretty prolific illustration career in advertising and doing album covers and um, all sorts of things.
Yeah. So how was that with DC Comics? Because you know, with a cover gig, you're essentially getting a brief, and then you're drawing to that brief. And if that was that something you were comfortable with as an artist?
Yeah, actually, I went to school for illustration, and so we were taught to kind of read the text and decipher it and come up with all sorts of ideas based on the text. So with the covers, I would get the script for each issue, and I would pour through the script and kind of pull out all sorts of different details and try to come up with the most interesting cover possible. It's kind of like a puzzle
Yeah.
in a way. And I felt like what made my covers unique was kind of using all those references so that after you finished reading the story inside, you would go back to the cover and sort of find all these like little Easter eggs.
So you have all these clues in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so the work that you're doing now, essentially you're creating your own briefs.
Right.
And you know, a question that I ask myself as an artist is, you know, to what end? Because you know, we do start as artists just trying to survive and just trying to eat and just trying to create. But then at some point when you've kind of climbed that hurdle, the next hurdle is to what end or why you're creating and
right. Why do we exist?
Yeah.
What is the meaning?
yeah, you know, all these crazy questions.
Yeah, you know that's what haunts me as I'm like toiling away in the studio. But it always helps to have constraints,
Yeah.
and those kind of those limitations point you in different directions.
And do you share your process? You know, that's something you spoke about. Do you expose or share the process of you thinking or making?
Yeah, actually, I used to have a blog like 10 years ago.
You should change that to a blog. You
A
know.
blog, yeah. That's what we're doing right now. I'm trying to update myself. But yeah, I used to break down the entire process of the work and from sketches, and I would write little dissertation on each project, and yeah, people really liked it and found it very helpful and inspiring, and I got a lot of feedback from that. But as sort of blogs kind of went by the wayside, and now it's all about that kind of quick social media fix with Instagram. Yeah, I feel like people don't go as deep as before, because there's just so much stuff out there now. But yeah, I did have a blog breaking it down, and that was published into a book, and I published all my sketches, and I even one time uploaded like a Photoshop file of like all the layers, and so people could dissect it.
Yeah. And see, I think that's really important. I think it's really important for artists to share the process in the way that you were, because it exposes the hard work and the time and the practice behind what you're actually creating. And because now we do live in this space where people think stuff happens instantly and very quickly.
Right.
And because artists aren't sharing the process, we make that assumption,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I think once you see that, it's not that giant of a leap.
Yeah.
It's just step by step in order to kind of become creative. Because I think the hardest part is to just start.
Yeah.
Once you see that the hurdles aren't that large, it's just like, just start drawing a pencil.
And another question I get, or as an artist myself, is how did you come up with your style? How did you come up with this? And I believe that it's in us. It's you can't go out there and draw like other artists and then hope to find yourself.
Right.
What do you believe there?
I believe that you can find yourself by constantly making. And I think that's kind of what separates, I think, artists from non-artists, is that it just comes from constantly making. You can't wait for inspiration.
Yeah, make and share, make and share, make and
Yeah,
share.
yeah, exactly.
I have a couple of pens for you. So these are some pens that I use. They're like a Stedler Lumnicolor F size and M size.
Yeah.
And I use them for shirts and shoes and.
Could you do a little drawing in my sketchbook?
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I like to start my drawings with this initial line. So I call this like the DNA. And then it's almost like a language of what goes inside there. So there's all these clues that stick out. But the main part of my drawing are these stick figures. They push and pull and keep the structural integrity of all the work. Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.